Hello guys, my name is Sam. I'm a woodworker and welcome to my small shop here. We'll walk around in a minute and maybe look at a couple of things. But what I'd like to talk about today is I have a large dining table that I built approximately a year or so ago. It was in a gallery, and in the fall we moved the table in the gallery to a different location. What I did not realize is there was a rather large heat vent above one end of the table. And in January, the weather got really cold, down single digits, teens, and that heater was pumping hard and it cracked the table on one end. So it's, some people call it steampunk. I like to refer to it more as industrial. So I'll show you the table here shortly. So what I'm going to do to fix this crack, fortunately it's in the center of the table on one end. I'm going to put a piece of steel in the tabletop. So I thought some people might find that interesting. And it also has a little tiny crack about a quarter of the way in on the same end. So I'm going to have to put 4 pieces on the table to balance it out. But you'll get to see me making those. We're going to use the milling machine to kind of angle these little pieces of steel. And as we get through it, I'll talk about the ideas and stuff that I have to do this with. So if you'll give me a few minutes, I will get the table uncovered and move the camera and show you what this thing looks like. Alright guys, got the table all uncovered. Here it is. It is a rather large dining table. It's 44 inches wide, 100 inches long. And the blue tape is on it only so I could put some pencil marks to get some measurements. And I'm going to try to do this without destroying the finish. It has about 5, maybe 6 coats of conversion varnish on it, sanded off between the coats. So it's an extremely durable finish. Let's see if we can get low. Whoop, excuse me, getting old, can't do that as well as I used to. And kind of show you what it looks like. Maybe if I back up a little bit here. Light's not very good. Sorry about that. This is a learning experience. This is the first time I've ever tried to make a video. Let's see if the light's any better on this end. Not really. So anyway, I will get down here to this end and show you where this crack is. Probably going to be really hard for you to see, but it is right through here. And then there's a very small one right here. So I'm going to put an 8-inch wide strip of steel down the center, and I'm going to use countersunk screws to kind of mimic the screws in the legs, and then I'm going to make little tapered pieces to go in here. So I'll have to do one on this side too. So anyway, when I get to the milling machine, I think I'm going to start with those. I'll turn the camera back on and show you what I'm doing. Thank you now. Well, I'm back. I forgot to say something earlier about the table. And some people might want to know, well, why don't you just fix the wood? Well, that's a really good question. And these 2 boards right here in the wood would have to be removed. And I would have to cut at least a 1/2 inch out of the board over here. So I would shrink the table somewhere between 2 and 3 inches, which I don't really like that. But if you could see the table from upside down, and I will throw in a still picture of this. The 3 mounting points underneath the table are sit into the wood top. So all of that would have to be redone. Plus, in my mind, I'm really thinking that maybe it should have had this piece of steel in it from the beginning for the look. And I know this look is not for everybody, but that's okay. So there is a companion piece to this. It's a sideboard. Has a lot of steel showing, and again, I will put in a still picture if I'm smart enough to figure that out. So let's go to the mill You can see here I've got set up my little blocks to make the 4 small pieces. I've done the dicum and a scribe line, and I have that set into the mill. So now I'm just going to use this face mill and mill to the line. This is not a critical adjustment. I will make the router template from the steel, so not a big deal. So let's see if I can get you set up here. It's not a great view, but hopefully it'll work. I have no idea what the machine noise is going to do to this, so let's see what happens. Alright, we're close. Got the quill locked. We're going to turn this boy on. Raise the knee and just touch off. There it is. Alright. Zero out my knee. I'm going to give it about 30 shots. See what that is. I'm not an aggressive cutter like the Avon is. He likes to move the metal. I'm a coward. So let's see what happens here. Slow it down a little bit. It worked pretty good. Let's give it 50 thou this time, see what happens. A little bit of lube on. It's going to work pretty good. I'm not going to bore you with a whole lot of machine work. You've seen this before, so I will bring you back when we get down to the line. Alright, I'm down to what should be the final cut. I'm just going to hand hold the camera here. You can probably see better. This is a 30,000 cut. And this should be right down to our line. I didn't say that, but there's actually 5 pieces of metal in here. I did that for a couple of reasons. One, just in case I messed one up, which is always possible. And the other reason is my little spacer block underneath was wider than 4 pieces, so I put a 5th piece in. And I did tack them together on the end with the welder, which I will grind off once they're all done. We're almost done here, getting a really pretty cut on this cold roll steel. So there we go. There's one side. We'll get it turned over in the vise and get the other side done, and then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, we're back. So you can see I've finished the tapers. I've drilled a couple of holes down the center. I'll explain those holes better later. And I've just set the piece back in the vise with a couple of pins because the holes are on center. And now I'm going to mill off this weld on one end and square that up. So let's see if we can get you guys set up right there. That looks pretty good. have to apologize for all this lack of light. I will get that fixed. But let's get in here and touch off. There we go. Put a little juice on it. Alright, here we go. This thing does not like the climb mill. Let's go to this side. Go into the cut. Get our cut made into the tabletop. So we're going to work at it from both directions. We're going to do this, make a template for the router, and then we're going to kind of shape our steel to that router cut. Sneaking up on it, the way I like to call it. Looks pretty good. So we'll stop there. I guess the next thing we'll do is start building that router template. So we'll be back. Alright, we're back. We're at the chop saw this time. So we're making that template for the router. So let's see if you can see what I've done. I've taken my little metal piece and this is kind of hard holding the hammer, but you can see that I sit the blade angle off of the piece of steel. So now I have taken a piece of plywood and I put a mark on it about 1 inch longer than the steel, and I came out here and cut my angle on 2 pieces of plywood. Now let's go over here and look at the whole thing. Get around the bench. And you can also see now that I've put pocket hole screws in the back side. So this goes like this. This goes like this. Let me get my iPad so I can see what's going on the video. And I'll slide my little piece of steel in there, and now you can see that I have a really nice router template. So let's get this glued together and we'll see how it works. Alright, I just wanted to show you this setup real quick. You can see I've got the piece of, or the router template, and the little piece of steel, and I know you can't feel it, but there is just an ever so slight height difference in the router bit. So let me get this thing clamped down and we'll cut this and see what happens. Alright, well, we're back. Got our router, our templates in place. I have my lovely assistant Ray over here helping with the camera. So let's see what happens. Well, there it is. So let me get this template off and we'll see what it looks like. All right, I have made the cut. There you can see it. Steel goes in. It's almost tight. When I radius these two corners, it should pull in just fine. It's intentionally cut just a little bit deep. I'd rather have to shim it up to flush than try to push the steel down later to get flush. So, real happy so far. And I have not really explained, other than I'm hiding a crack here that I'm going to repair now that the wood's cut away. But I'm putting a heavy piece of steel here and then across the end of this 8-inch piece. And I'm going to drill and tap like a 1/2-inch 13 hole, 2 here and 1 there, to make it look like it used to do something. Kind of keep that industrial look going. So we'll see how it goes. I'll get this thing rounded off and we'll be back. Alright, good morning. It's a new day here in the shop. So it's kind of like to back up on what we did yesterday. You can see my little metal piece rounded the corners, and now it fits in just fine. And I also want to show you here, this is where the little crack was. I drilled a 1/4-inch hole all the way down to about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom side. Then I filled it with thin CA glue and just let it wick into the wood overnight, and I think that'll be just fine. I don't think our crack can travel from there. This one over here, once we get the wood plowed away from it, then we'll look at it and make a decision. Alright, now this is the template that I've made to cut on the end for the big thicker steel piece. And I have made one cut here. And I tell you what, before I talk about that, let me just bring the other template back into play, just so you can all see it one more time, just in case. Very simple template. Pocket screwed together, little strip of wood on the edge, which sits the depth of cut. And so anyway, I do have to make this confession. This morning, my head was so wrapped around this camera that I made a mistake. And if you look close, I hope you can see it, but there's I measured the tail end of the piece of steel back here and wasn't thinking about this thing tapering. So now I have a little notch on each side, like so. I hope you can see that. And for the last few minutes I've been having coffee thinking about this, and I think I've come up with a pretty good idea on how to fix my mistake again. And that's kind of what this video is about, is fixing problems that you have. So we're going to stop right there. Alright, we're back to mistake on these little metal pieces. So I want you to see, I've got the mill set up. And I cut this notch on both sides. It's 1 inch into the piece. So we'll talk more about it when I get to the thicker piece of steel, and I'll show you what I plan to do. Hopefully it works. Okay, I got the notches cut into little pieces. So now hopefully you can see them. And the big piece of steel will have, let's say like a dado cut that comes up around this piece. And I think it'll just make it a little bit more interesting. Mistake might have been a good thing. So when I get the big pieces going, I'll bring you back and show you what's happening there. Alright, just to get you caught up on what's going on here. These little blocks, this is my heavy steel piece. So you can see that I have cut a groove down through the center, which this piece will now sit in the groove. I have a little burr over here holding it away, but it fits. So now I'm going to take one out, and let's see if I can. I'm going to hand the camera off to Ray, and this is the way it goes together. Nice tight fit. And then this is going to go in nice and tight, like so. So I think that's going to be pretty good, and it was a mistake, but this actually adds a little bit more to the look, I think. So anyhow, I'm going to get one put in and I'll get back to you. Alright, we're back, and what I would like to show you is I have finished the machining here, and we can actually take it out of a clamp now. So the machining's done. I'll drill and tap this hole, and then I have to countersink both holes. I just did a little tack weld on the back, and when it comes around to the table, I'll just take the chisel and make a little indentation there. And I saved this last router thing for you to see. This is not pretty. Too close, buddy. So there you can see we've got a 1-inch deep hole to accommodate the big piece of steel. Keep clamps off of here. And we have one more hole with the little notch corners. Alright, got one of them done. Let me take it out here so you can see it. It is all sanded. Got the whole decorative hole drilled. Got the screw hole, wood screw hole countersunk. The other one I'm waiting. I have the machine screws on order. When I get them, then I'll be able to countersink it to the proper size. I don't want to go too big, too small. So we'll wait for that. And it just slides in. With a little bump. The other three are all done. They just need to be sanded and cleaned up. So that's about it for this step. I will show you what these all look like once I get them finished and sanded and installed, and get the machine screws. That's my big hold up here. So that's probably about it for right now. Well, I think that should probably wrap up this first part of this video, or part one of this video, on getting the 4 small pieces made, put into the table. There's just a little bit of work left to do on those, again, because I don't have the screws. But I'll catch you up on that on the part 2. The piece down the center is, it's going to be a little bit slow because there's a whole lot of router cutting down the middle, and got to be careful, make sure that we don't overcut, undercut. And then the big piece of steel itself, I have to drill several holes in it and countersink those for the screws, and then make the heavy metal pieces for the sides of it, or the ends of it. So anyway, on this video, I just try to explain how I do things. That changes from time to time. I guess the biggest thing is just look at what you got as far as a problem and try to think of solutions. You know, plan A doesn't always work. Sometimes you got to go to plan B. And like on this one, I kind of didn't have my brain turned on, I don't guess, the other morning, and I cut and created those little notches in the taper cut. But I think the fix that I came up with actually looks really good. So sometimes a mistake's not really a mistake. It can be a good thing. A little more work maybe, but a good thing. So anyway, I want you to learn to just think about what you can do. You know, it's never ever a disaster. Everything can be fixed. You just got to come up with a plan and do it. So anyway, I know people will disagree with part of this. I'm sorry about that, but this works for me. I've been building furniture for about 40 years. I've sold a whole lot of really, really nice furniture. The steel in furniture has only been in the last, I don't know, 6, 7 years, 8 years. But the machines and the metal work I've really enjoyed. It, like I say, it's probably about 8 years to me. And playing with the lathe and the mill is just so much fun. And I watch a lot of the metalworking videos, the machine guys like A-Bomb and Mr. Pete. And I just totally enjoy it. So I will see you on this next video. I hope you enjoyed. If you would, please give us a thumbs up. And any comments that you have, I'd love to hear them. And we will see you on the next one.